Well, we hope all of it's sheer madness. that sounds like more fun. We take inspiration from a lot of different directions. Obviously other shooters are out there, but the team has a wide range of influences. It's a big creative collaboration on the Overwatch team. We're about 75 people, and we listen to everybody on the team and what they're into at the time. So that's where you get that awesome mix of influences. So you can have a 76 who's a rather conservative, approachable type of shooter character, and have somebody like Lucio who is so far out there. I mean, Lucio's inspiration really came from the classic RPG bard. Here's a musical character. In RPGs, he always had like a lute or something, and he's affecting his teammates around him with songs. And how do you apply that to a shooter? Other ways that we got at Lucio was talking about, we have amazing movement abilities in the game. Characters like Tracer, who can blink super fast, or Soldier 76, who's sprints really fast. And then we have support characters, and you always have to think, like, well, how do they keep up with them? So obviously Mercy can use her Guardian Angel to sort of zip to wherever other characters are. Zenyatta doesn't have to travel, he just sends his orb off. But someone like Lucio needed a way to get around fast. So sometimes there's a practical, functional part of it, and sometimes inspiration comes from the weirdest place, like an RPG bard. So yeah, it's a lot of fun coming up with the heroes. Something that Blizzard games always try to do is reach as wide of an audience as possible. So with that in mind, you're always considering what other platforms could the game be on. We're very fortunate at this day and age in Blizzard to have experience now not only with PC, Macintosh, we're on tablets, we're on phones, and we're also on the consoles with Reaper of Souls. So we have a lot of experience, and we're also looking at how can we reach more gamers. So right now the game is only announced on PC, but we're always considering how can we widen our reach. Soldier 76 is probably the most interesting one because we're very fortunate to have Chris Metzen as our creative director on Overwatch. And Chris has dreamt up many worlds. He's the most interesting guy to be in a room with, and you just hear him talk, and his imagination is something that inspires us all. And he has projects on his own that he did, and on his own he had come up with a character named Soldier 76 with a very deep, rich backstory. And we started making Overwatch, and suddenly Chris said, hey, I've been working on this side project, this Soldier 76 guy, for some time. I think he might be more awesome if we brought him into the Overwatch universe, and not only that, but we can make his backstory that he was the leader of Overwatch. So that one was very story-driven. On the side, our hero design group, which is an amazing group of designers, was coming up with a more conventional type of hero. We heard a lot of people really loved Overwatch at BlizzCon, but they were a little bit overwhelmed when you get all those heroes appear at the bottom of the screen, and they're flying up in the air, and here's a monkey that's leaping, and he's got a shield, and what do I do? And so some people who came from more traditional shooters wanted something more straightforward. So our hero design team was designing a hero specifically to be more approachable. And then when Chris brought Soldier 76 to us, we said, well, Chris, what types of guns would he have? And Chris, he'd have a pulse rifle, and we're looking at this design over here, and it was just the perfect merging. Lucio actually came more from the design side and the art side, not really the story side at all. So we have an amazing lead character artist named Arnold Sang, and he's drawn all of the Overwatch characters that you see. And he drew in one of the earliest versions of the announced cinematic trailer that we showed at BlizzCon. There was actually part of the shot where you saw that character, this sort of skating character with that gun. And we always had our eye on him, and we're like, that's an amazing piece of concept art. We need to bring that character to life someday. And on the side, you had our lead hero designer, Jeff Goodman, kind of have that Bard inspiration. Well, I want a support character that affects people around you and moves around you. So Jeff Goodman, along with a designer named Mike Heiberg, came together to really create Lucio, and then using Arnold Sang's art, it all came together. And there was really no story at all. Then Mike Chu and Chris Metzen went back and wrote a backstory to fit that character. So it always comes from different directions.
It certainly sounds like a cool idea. Where we're at right now in the project is we're just trying to get the game done so we can get it into beta. It's for players to play. Other than that, we don't have really anything to talk about.
I think we still have a lot of really amazing ideas that we're excited to announce to the world. We're not done with Lucio, so there are more heroes to come. With that said, there is such a thing as too many heroes. I don't think we're anywhere near close to that. When we'll know we're close to that is when we risk homogenizing anybody who exists right now in the game. You don't want to have a case where a hero just feels like a reskinned version of an earlier hero you made. I think at that point we would avoid oversaturating the game with too many heroes, but I don't think we're there yet. I think there's a really interesting example to look at is Hanzo and Widowmaker, who both can be played to serve similar roles. They're both kind of long-range sniper-type heroes. They both share some similar abilities beyond just the sniping. They can grant vision to their team to see, people coming, around corners or through walls or whatever. But we feel like they're different enough and they play different enough that they're not stepping on one another just yet. If there was overlap that really risked that homogenization, then we would avoid, pushing more heroes than that. I think that's a great question. I think oftentimes people look at Overwatch as being, okay, it's FPS and MOBA, and I think the FPS elements are very obvious, and the MOBA elements that draw us in are, well, wow, there's a lot of heroes here, and it's very objective-based, team-based gameplay. With that said, the pacing of Overwatch, I'm not sure necessarily would work great with that in-game progression that's so marked and notable about games like Heroes of the Storm. So we have tried an out-of-game progression system that affected each of the heroes' abilities by allowing them to customize, we call them talents, similar to heroes. But we found that the game, because it's so fast-paced and in first person, it became very difficult to read what was happening in the scene. So an example of one of the talents we had was when Reaper used Wraith form, you could pick a talent that made him heal till full. But the game became very confusing because there's so many heroes, it's moving so fast, and suddenly you don't know, is that a Reaper who took the heal to full talent? Or is that a Reaper who took the move faster when Wraith form talent? And the game sort of lost its predictability, and your ability to counter was sort of out the window at that point. So we actually backed off that system. We took it out of the game. Maybe it's something we'll revisit at a later time, but for now, it's not something we're really chasing.
Yeah, so right now we don't have any specifics on that. That said, we're following the community very closely and know that it's something that they're very passionate about. So our primary focus right now is to get the game into a beatable state so we can put it in front of players and get their feedback and iterate on kind of the core game mechanics. And that may be something that we look at down the road.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. We have two amazing level designers. We have a gentleman by the name of Dave Adams, and we have our assistant game director, Aaron Keller, who's one of the best level designers out there. And they love playing around with these new elements and adding new dynamics to maps. So it's kind of exciting to us as the team to see what these guys come up with, but I'm sure you'll see some more dynamic elements make their way in. Sure, we actually have a capture point to payload right now, which is like Nimbani is and King's Row, so that's definitely on our mind. We have some pure payload maps the whole way, some pure capture points the whole way, so we are definitely open to hybridizing some of those game mechanics. We're also constantly listening to our team feedback and Blizzard feedback and community feedback on new game mode ideas. That's something we pay a lot of attention to, and we've actually prototyped quite a few internally. They don't always work out. The way that we judge new game mode is the most important thing to us is that the heroes are always at the front. The game needs to center and revolve around the heroes, and we don't want you getting confused by a new game mode or adding complexity or adding rules that make us remove abilities from heroes or that sort of thing. So a lot of the times we'll back off or back away from a new game mode because we feel like it's sacrificing the importance of the heroes, but that doesn't mean that we back down or ever stop trying to find new game modes. Sure. We feel like I'll answer the second part first. We don't want to focus on the kill-death ratio because we feel that Overwatch is more about your team winning or failing as a team and less about everybody's individual kills and deaths. Sometimes the right thing to do is actually have a really bad kill-death ratio because what your team needs you to do is sacrifice for the moment. Like, hey, I'm Tracer and I know I'm not very survivable, but I'm going to stay on this capture point. I know I'm going to die, but I'm going to do it so my team can back me up and get here. And we don't want to make you feel bad for doing that with the way the score rewards. To answer the first part of your question, the way that the score is attributed to the players is a mix of using your abilities and capturing objectives. And there's a modifier if you're near the objective, it's sort of giving you more points. And obviously, kills and assists definitely plays into that score as well. In fact, we're doing things, it's not here at the Gamescom build, but you'll see in the future we're actually going to push more and more away from individual score and try to bring to the forefront more how is the team doing. You'll see more and more of that from Overwatch.
Well, we just announced the graphic novel at Comic-Con, so that's absolutely something that we're looking forward to putting out there. And we love and got such a great response to the Overwatch Unveil cinematic and things like the Soldier 76 backstory video that we did and the Tracer backstory video that we showed at BlizzCon. There's a rich world for us out there to be exploring, and some of that will end up in the game, and a lot of it will also end up out of the game. We really want the game to sort of be focused on the moment-to-moment gameplay and not have players having to worry about having story just kind of thrown in their face. But I think if you look around in some of the maps even that we brought to Gamescom, like the airport terminal in Nimbani and in Sky Industries as well, you'll see there's actually quite a bit of story that is being told there, just kind of in the background.